Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Card Advantage podcast. It is episode 45. This episode is being recorded on Thursday, February 3rd at 9:26 p.m. As always, joined by the one and only co-pilot of the podcast, Bunk. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Have my coffee. Ready to go.
Sweet. We got a fired up Bunk for you fine fellas and possibly ladies for this week's
Yeah, I'll see if you
episode.
can feel the fire. Let's see.
Yeah, we got a ton of stuff to go over. But before we do, some Sports Card Advantage business. As always, follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Sports Card ADVTG. If you have any questions you want us to talk about on the podcast, send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. Yeah, that's about it. Unfortunately, no announcement of the website yet. It is just about ready. Unfortunately, our web developer had a death in the family, so we got delayed about a week and a half. But hoping that potentially by next week's episode, we'll be able to announce that and get you guys to start taking a look. We do have a new tool that we're rolling out for this website. Would love to get some people to test it, play around with it, give us some feedback. So if it's something that you're interested in, send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. It is basically a profit and loss calculator for the sports card world, where you're able to input buy prices and sell prices, and it will basically calculate taxes, fees, shipping, eBay fees, depending on if you bought it on eBay or not. And then there's also grading fees. So if you are in the flipping game, or even if you're just buying and selling casually, and you buy a card on eBay, or you buy a card privately and you get it graded, and you want to know if you're going to sell it on eBay, what's the minimum you need to get in order to make profit, it'll do that too. So love to get a handful of people to test it. So if you're interested, send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage. We'll send you a URL, and you can kick it around and give us some feedback.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I know you pull that out all the time because how many times a week do I ask you, hey, what do we need? What do we need to get on this minimum? And you just 8 seconds later after you punch it in, you tell me the exact number.
Yep. I mean, I started it on a Google sheet and then had somebody build it, and figured it'd be a fantastic tool that we can add to our website. It's going to be one of the 3 tools that we do have on the website. One is the calculator. One is an alarm. So if you are an avid eBay buyer and the 15-minute notification isn't good enough for you, which a lot of times it's not, because you lose track of an auction sometime between the 15 minutes and when it actually closes, the alarm will enable you to set up a text message alert just by copying and pasting the link of the eBay auction into the tool, and it'll send an alert to your phone via text or email at a set number of minutes before the auction closes, and you can pick the amount of minutes that you want to set it to. So
I always do 3 minutes.
Yeah, same. I'm the same. Because my phone will beep, at 3 minutes before the auction goes off, and that's the hobby I've gotten into. Not the hobby, the habit that I've gotten into is anytime there's an auction that I add to my watch list, I copy and paste and put it in the alarm, so that not only it beeps at my phone, gives me alert at 15, but it also gives me an alert at 3 minutes, so that I never get distracted and lose track.
We've all been there. That feeling when a card goes for way less than you were willing to pay for it, you're like, damn, some other dude just got a steal and I should have been on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's those are the tools that are going to be part of the site. And the third tool is a comp tool. It's similar to 130. I mean, 130 is the standard that most people use. But for whatever reason, 130 is slow or not working, will be a backup. We understand that. that most people just use 130, but our tool does pretty much the same thing. There's a little bit more as far as the options you can select, so you may be able to drill down and get some more specific results. But yeah, there will be a comp tool on the website as well. All right, Guy. Any other business that we got to talk about?
No, let's talk some cards.
Let's talk some cards. Unfortunately, we start off the show another week with more hobby shenanigans. So this week, everybody's buzzing about Starstock. Since we come out later in the week, we know that you guys will probably listen to some of this chatter already. So we're going to touch on it quick. I know that you really didn't even have time to get yourself up to date on this, so I'll run through a quick update. Starstock is a website that started out as a marketplace similar to PWCC, where you could send them cards. They take the cards, they put it in a vault, and then basically give you an online token, so to speak, where you can buy, sell, trade that card, and then if somebody else is a Starstock holder, they can just keep the card in their vault, or you guys can trade cards. Some stuff that's weird, I guess, with this is they accepted raw cards, which I don't know if they had any way to verify it, or if they did authenticate it, which could also always be dangerous. And then secondly, they started out as this marketplace where you could buy, sell, and trade, and they just kept chasing the bag. And by the bag, I mean the money, because then all of a sudden they started this started to become breakers, and then they really didn't push the marketplace anymore. And then from there, then most recently the news is they fired all their breaking staff, they fired a bunch of other people, and now they're moving more towards digital. They said that they're months behind on any submissions, and now they're going to be looking at NFT collabs. So it's just shady all the way around. It definitely seems like they started out with the best of intentions, but whoever's running the business didn't do what they needed to do to try to grow it the right way, and they just kept chasing money. And they didn't make any money, and there's been a ton of complaints as far as people saying that cards were lost, stuff never came back, and that or they've been waiting for things to come back for an exorbitant amount of time. So if you are at Starstock, obviously do your own research, but more than likely you want to do the best you can to get your stuff out of there. It does not look good as far as whether or not they're going to stay in business. So just a public service announcement for you guys as far as that goes. But there's plenty of news about it on Twitter.
They didn't do sealed wax, right? Am I confusing them with StockX or something?
Yes, you are confusing them with StockX.
So Starstock, was that the one when they originally started that was just only rookie card slabs?
I'm not sure, to be honest with
I
you.
think it was. I mean, for me, I remember when it started. For me, it was just okay. Jesus, another platform. It's bad enough I can't remember passwords.
Well, I mean, I think the interesting part of that, them is they allowed you to trade, which I think
trading's cool. I didn't
cool.
know that until you just said that.
Yeah,
I was like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, basically, if there's two Starstock members and we both submit, any other trade, it's like if there's a fantasy football trade and you submit it to the commissioner and the commissioner sees it from both sides, and it's like, okay, and then they just exchange
flop it in your portfolio.
Yeah, they exchange portfolios. So, that was how they started, but I don't know if there's really a way for them to make money that way. And then all of a sudden breaking became the it thing, and everybody's making all this bank off breaking, and then they switched into that and they lost sight of their original business model, and that trailed off into other splinters of different things. And from what I understand, the business just kept going downhill.
No, the site's still up and functioning from what I can see.
Yeah, they're quote unquote still in business, even though people are saying that they fired everybody and that they're months behind. So, I mean, they're still in business, but from some of the breakers who got fired, they're talking to various other influencers. There was a video on card porn this week, and basically saying that the company's in trouble. And so if you have stuff that you care about, you may want to try to get it out and at least have it in your hand. And if they rebound and rally and you really like, working with them, you can always send it back. You just don't want to be in a situation where they're like, well, we're out of business, so tough shit on your cards.
Yeah. No,
I
I
mean,
mean, at this point, if you have nothing to do with them right now, just stay the course. Of nothing to do with them.
yeah, exactly. If you're not a Starstock member, you may exactly stay away. And if you are and you have stuff, try to get it back so that at least you have it in your hand, and then you make decisions on based on what you see. But for whatever reason, if the ownership makes shuts down, and this has to go to litigation, your cards are going to be considered assets as far as part of their company, and then that stuff will be tied up for months, if not longer, before you potentially get it back.
Yeah, supposedly only a 5% fee selling on there.
Yeah, it started out as a good platform, and then I didn't we never had any experience with it, but the stuff that I've read online, and the part of the videos that I've seen was that they then saw the boom in breaking, and that's where the money is, and then they made that their focus, and they got away from their marketplace as their primary business.
Hmm.
So and then one more piece of hobby shenanigans that's going on. Apparently, there's a new trend going on in the NFT space, that people are literally taking pictures of very expensive cards and listing them on OpenSea as an NFT, and trying to scam people out of half to 1.5 ETH, Ethereum, which roughly translates to what, 1,800 to 4,500 roughly, dollars. The most recent example, the Tom Brady that sold on eBay for like 2.3 million. Somebody listed that up on OpenSea for 1.1 Ethereum. And if what we're talking about is complete gibberish to you, just a quick rehash: NFT, non fungible token, basically a digital contract for buying an item. There's a pretty popular trend right now with NFTs of people that are basically buying images, to be part of a group, and some of that artwork, quote unquote, is worth a ton of money. Most popular, Bored Ape Yacht Club. Some of those are going for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not seven figures. But the thing that you need to remember is that OpenSea is a secondary marketplace for NFTs, but not sports NFTs. And sports NFTs are being sold on, the card companies that are making them. So you want to buy baseball NFTs, they're being sold on Candy, which is the platform being run by Michael Rubin, and they have the licensing deal with Major League Baseball and Topps. You want to buy football and basketball, Panini has the licensing rights to that. Panini has their own marketplace, they have their own packs, they have a bunch of stuff. So don't buy any of these bootleg NFTs. They are literally worthless. So if you spent an Ethereum on a picture of a Tom Brady card, all you basically got was a picture of a Tom Brady card. You did not get anything worth any money, and more than likely, unless you find another sucker, you're not going to be able to resell it.
That picture is an art.
No, it is not. Because he doesn't own, there's no asset behind it. He doesn't own the actual card. And it's just a picture. It's like a reprint. You just paid.
So he spent 4K on a JPEG.
Normally, that's the example that people that don't understand NFTs make, but in this case, it's accurate because there's nothing behind it. It's like literally, I just took a picture of it and then listed it for that. And if you want to call it a 101, fucking go right ahead, but that's not accurate. It literally is a picture of an asset you don't own, and it's not in a piece of original art, and it's not anything that's
Right,
anything.
because anyone could take a picture and put it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, technically speaking, the legality of that is somewhat suspect.
What the guy did selling?
Yes.
Yeah.
But listing it on OpenSea, everything can be anonymous. So if you buy it, there's nobody that you can call to say, "Hey, I just got ripped off." It's not eBay. It's not, there's no eBay or PayPal or one of these other companies to call and say, "Hey, I just got ripped off and I need to get my money back." If you buy it, once that money is gone, it's gone.
Well, I know a guy. I think it might be the same scenario. He bought what he thought was an NFT, but it was just a picture of one of the, it looked like one of the art projects. So, but it
Yep.
was just a picture of it. Again, like you said, and no contract behind it. It was just a picture, just like the Brady was a picture. And he bought it for whatever the price was on OpenSea, and obviously didn't come through at all. But
Yeah. I mean, so for those of you that haven't gotten into this space, or if you're new, there's fraud and theft is absolutely rampant. And that's the other thing too. Buying one of these things, you could inadvertently basically open a trap door to your MetaMask, your online digital wallet. And if you have other things in it, they can empty it. So that's another popular thing that people do on OpenSea is they send you quote unquote free NFTs. And if you interact with them or buy, basically try to then resell them and engage with it, it gives the person that created this access to your wallet and they can drain it. So if you buy one of these fake NFTs that's from some, scamster, then you could literally not only pay the $4,000 for a fake NFT, but you could also lose whatever else you got in your wallet.
crazy.
So just be very, very careful. If you're really interested in the sports card NFT space, stay on the marketplaces of the established companies that have the licensing agreements with the sports. Okay, moving right along. Time to talk about the retirement of one Tom Brady.
See the goat?
I mean, you can't really debate it. I mean, you can debate it, but I mean, guy's got.
Yeah, even the Montana lovers I've heard less and less from lately.
Yeah, I mean, that is the case. The best to ever do it. Super Bowls with six with New England and one with Tampa.
Yeah,
Um,
7.
y- you know, the car that we just talked about literally sold on eBay for $2.3 million. I think the previous high on that card was 1.8. So that's a tremendous bump.
Nice.
But just like anything else, his stuff's going to come back down. So if you're looking to buy Tom Brady, so we're going to lump these two things together. If you're looking to buy Tom Brady, or you're looking to buy Joe Burrow or Matt Stafford or any of these guys that are Super Bowl or just retired, you're gonna have to wait.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the retirement has just the same as the playoff hype. There's the hype of the retirement. Now he's done. I mean, I'm still holding hope that he might not be done, but but we'll see. But yeah, you're gonna get the retirement bump. Everyone wants the okay, now he's that much closer to the Hall of Fame. Let me get in on it. But we looked at a couple cards before. They're all up right now, so I'd give it the good old 2-3 months. Get out away from the Super Bowl, and you'll get a little settling on those cards. They'll still be high dollar things, but you're not going to get this extra whatever percent are on the better ones right now.
yeah, absolutely. We looked at the Bowman Chrome. So his Bowman Chrome, we looked at 2000 Bowman Chrome PSA 9, 5400, 5000, 5400 before the playoffs. It pumped to 6500 during the
Push it to 7.
playoffs, and then now it pushed all the way up to like 7000, 7500 with the retirement news. More than likely, you'll see that card come back down into the 6000 range. Maybe even a little bit less once you get into the off season and the hype of the retirement comes back down. That card hasn't been manufactured in 22 years. So now all of a sudden, just because he's retired doesn't mean that it's any more scarce. The only thing that could potentially be is there's more demand because he's not playing anymore, and people are like, "Oh shit, we better buy some of this stuff up now." So
Well,
you
that's
may,
it. The only thing left for him, other than maybe a few Pro Bowl TDs, is the Hall of Fame. That's
you
it.
actually
That's
you
all that's
actually
left
think he'd
in terms
go
of
to
his
the
resume.
you actually think he'd go to the Pro Bowl and make that his last game on the field?
If I were him, I would. I'd go mess around.
I guess always a possibility.
The one in
Um,
Hawaii. I mean, I know nobody watched it. I don't think I've watched one since I was 9 years old.
yeah, I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in God knows how long. So. But yeah, so same deal with Burrow and Stafford and any of these other guys that are in the Super Bowl right now. I mean, all their stuff is at astronomical levels. We ourselves sold a Stafford card that we bought. We originally bought it. It was an HDA 9.5. The plan was to crack it and grade it. We bought it for $489. We sold it for what, 675?
6, 7. Yeah, we decided that I didn't like how it looked. I didn't think it would gem, so we rode the playoff Ram high, and we got lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean we got salvaged on it because it was going to be tough to resell.
And we,
Um,
we
you
did
know,
the homework on it. I looked at the card. We did the comps. We ran the numbers. Didn't look good. So we playoffs were coming. Rams were looking good. So we thought it would get a bump, playoff bump anyway. So we held on to it and we dumped it at the right time.
yeah, shameless plug. We used the calculator and determined that we needed to make at least 575 on it in order to break even reselling it on eBay. And we were actually able to get 675 for it. So we got bailed out on that. But his stuff is very high. Burrow stuff is through the roof. I mean, God forbid, not God forbid, but if Burrow wins a Super Bowl, I mean his stuff is going to be astronomical. And then the question becomes, is his stuff then on a Pat Mahomes level as far as value if he's got a title?
I mean, that's a great question, and I think I could argue it both ways. But I think the best thing to do now is just let's take a peek at what kind of ceiling Stafford and Burrow have right now, because obviously we're not advocating buying their stuff right now. But
No.
let's see what kind of ceiling they have on some of their more popular rookie cards, and then we have to imagine the Bengals are going to go far next year.
Yeah.
The Rams. I don't know their roster status, but I imagine they're going to be going deep into the playoffs again next year. So I would take some notes on what kind of ceiling we're looking at right now if they do well next year, and in the off season, and I'm looking to get in on these things. I'll have a better idea of what potential I might have. And I like looking at the potential now compared to like I've always said, like those 2020 highs are not coming back. So now that we're getting further removed from those highs, and now we're setting a new high level that's a touch under those boom highs of when the pandemic was going nuts. I think now's a nice time to start doing some mental homework on where some of these cars have potential to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think we're going into a new era of quarterbacks.
Yep.
There's been 7 or 8 prominent guys who are either retired, who just retired, retired recently, or will retire in the next year or so, and it becomes now the next generation. And the next generation, really a group of exciting quarterbacks that have mobile ability and can throw and can really put up some big numbers and will win Super Bowls, and that will all bump value. Allen, Mahomes, Herbert,
I mean,
Burrow.
the AFC is nuts.
Yeah, I mean the AFC is
I mean,
crazy,
that's going to be a fight to
and
get into
then
the title game every year.
next year we get a look at what Trey Lance is gonna look like over the course of a full season, and whether or not if he can build up. And he has Debo and Ayuk and a couple more years of Kittle, and so this is going to be the next generation of quarterbacks, and there's gonna be some guys that emerge as the big money cards for the next generation, the next Brady, type guys. And whether or not that's Mahomes or whether or not that's Burrow or whether or not that's somebody else, we'll see.
I mean, everything we're doing in terms of flipping and investing and stuff is all gambling. But think about that AFC as these quarterbacks get a little older. You're going to be round one of the playoffs. You might be in trouble. Like, damn, they got to win this game, or I got to get rid of this card now.
Yeah. I mean, if you
So
bought
fun.
any sort of 2020 sealed wax for football, you're sitting really pretty at this point, and that may be something you want to think about grabbing. Is in the off season as prices will inevitably come back down. Stacking some Prism, or some contenders or optic products, because Herbert and Burrow are definitely going to be
Going
slinging
to
it
have
out
there
with
for a long time.
yeah, with
Yep.
Mahomes and Allen for the next 10 years. So that stuff's just going to continue to go up, and as people buy it and sit on it, it's the rarity is just going to increase. What else we got? I got okay. So we're gonna get to today's main topic of conversation: consignment. As we bought and sold a ton on eBay, one of the things that you and I have kicked around as a topic is potentially staying away from buying from consignment companies that are selling on eBay. And you want to walk through what our reasoning is, or where this sparked from as far as the conversation.
Yeah, what brought it to my attention was, we just had cards coming in all the time, and I'd open and open and open, and you're looking at the return address, and you know, I you'd see the same the packages, all the you got the Probsteins and the PWCCs and then all the other well-known consignment. I just see the addresses over and over again. I'm like, okay, I'm opening it, and okay, this is for grading, this is for grading. We're looking at it, and what I started thinking about was a lot of the cards that we thought looked good in pictures, and that most of the rejects that we had that just weren't making the cut as far as grading, I noticed seemed to be coming from the consignment people. So it made me think, I wonder if people who also had this card said, I can't get this graded, I'm gonna dump it
Dump it.
somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, because the thing is that people have to understand versus buying from an individual that maybe has like 500 to 1,000 really good feedback is that they may have 10, 15, 20 cards, 30 cards max on eBay. So if there's like something like, hey, I need to see this, I'd love to see this outside the sleeve, or hey, can you show me a better picture of this back corner or whatever it is. With consignment companies, they have tens of thousands of cards that are listed on eBay at any time. Basically, say in their auction, this card is the one that's in the pictures. Don't
Don't
ask for any
ask.
other pictures. And I mean, basically, don't expect a response from us because you're not going to get it. So you got to take a shot. And, that's something that we've experienced. And not to say, graded cards, no problem. But with raw cards, if you're looking to potentially grade, you may be running into a situation where other people have bought that card and felt it ungrade worthy and then just dump it out to their consigner, because then they're not responsible for it anymore. They don't have to disclose that there's a dent in it or a you know banged up corner or whatever, because the consigner takes all that responsibility. They takes all that risk. So if somebody buys it and then sees that there's a massive dimple that wasn't disclosed, that doesn't go against their eBay account. It goes against the consigners and they have to deal with the headache. So, that's potentially, we're not saying that happens all the time, but it's potentially a possibility.
And to be fair, we're just talking simply because we're looking for pristine cards. So if you're
Yeah.
buying a card for a PC, that wouldn't stop me from buying from a consigner, because it's not, these cards aren't coming in with like these noticeable defects and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm finding things on real close examination, but if I was buying for a PC, I'd have no problem buying from the consigners if the picture looked good.
Yeah, 100%.
If I'm
And
keeping it raw, no problem.
yeah, exactly. But if you are buying for that reason, that is a possibility. The other thing that we were wondering, statistically speaking, is are you paying more money on eBay buying from consigner versus buying from a guy that has 150 feedback.
Well, yeah. So yeah. Forget the whole. We've talked about this before. Forget about some of the bigger ones that everyone likes to say the auctions are getting shilled up, blah blah blah. But yeah, some of your more popular consigners, they're the more people that have saved email searches in their email. They like buying from them because they do a good job. All the big ones do a pretty damn good job getting the cards out, packaged well, timely, right away. So you have a lot of confidence in them because they have high feedback, and they do good turnarounds. So they just do a good job. So you have good comp. So I feel they have a huge amount of eyeballs compared to the smaller ones. And I do think you carry a bit of a premium on some of those cards sometimes when they're being ran by those.
Yes. And as a side note, not to say that it happens, but it probably does, is that you could shill your own cards. I mean, that's a bottom line.
Yes, I guess you could. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because if we're not even going to mention any names because we don't want to put this on anybody, but if XYZ consignment lists your cards, you could easily have an eBay account and bid up your own cards. So,
Yeah, I mean
without
that's just. I
fear
mean
of.
you can, but that's just dumb. I mean, are people like literally ending up winning their own cards? Then what the hell you do?
I mean, it's not necessarily even, you may not be doing it at the end, but maybe you're, you know,
Just pumping it up at the
pumping
beginning.
it up
Right.
in day 3 just to get the price higher to try to get a better push at the end or whatever it may be. So yeah, I mean, it's all things that you have to keep in mind and consider for some of this stuff. So, with the amount of volume that we've been buying ourselves, for grading and dealing with consigners and, buying from and selling with, it's definitely something to keep in mind for consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I know 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't even look at an auction. I would see a card I love. I'm like, oh man, this dude's got 103 feedback, and I would just dismiss it. But I don't do that anymore. If as long as it's 100% feedback, I see nothing negative, and the auction looks clean. I take a shot on some of these lower feedback individuals because my dumbass 15 years ago was passing on cards I probably could, that someone else got cheap because of my feelings. So I feel like I'm doing that now. I take a shot. I haven't had any issues, but
Yeah,
um,
we just had that same we had a version of that discussion about 15 minutes ago. We were looking at a card and
which
like
one?
the one that was coming from Japan. You're like, oh, I don't want to buy this because it's coming from Japan. And the way I look at that is like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Not an individual, but yeah,
no, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, you don't necessarily like buying from foreign countries, but to me, I think in certain cases there are a population of people that feel the same as you. It's like I don't know where it's coming from, and could be shady, or it's going to take 3 weeks to get to me, so people just pass on bidding. We've
And
gotten a few really good deals buying from overseas buyers because there's less of an audience that's going to buy it from an overseas seller. So if they have good feedback and you can wait the time that it's going to take to get to you, which could be 3 to 5 weeks in certain cases, um, it's not a bad look to try to find some deals.
hey, just hope the boat doesn't sink. You're all right.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many people are sending stuff over by boat these days that are
Well, dude, if
cards.
it's taking 3 weeks, it ain't coming by airplane.
It could,
Then why is it taking 3 weeks?
because it has to get packed, get sent off, sent to the shipping facilities, then it flies over, and then it's got to spend X amount of time in customs, and then it's got to sent out to probably one or two different local facilities, and then get sent out to you. So that could easily take 2 or 3 weeks.
Like a week.
Do you think they're really putting?
What? 17 hours. Boom! It's in New Jersey.
Yeah, and it's not
One
like
plane.
the guy in Australia goes to the freaking post office and says, "I'd like to send this to Bunk in America, please." And then some dude hand flies it over and then drops it off at your house.
Guy. If it's coming via a plane, it shouldn't take 3 weeks.
It's just the way that the world works and the system works. And number two, I hope the boat doesn't sink. Like, how many fucking boats have you heard about sinking in the middle of the Atlantic? And there's PSA slabs floating around.
Mailboats, guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and if there is, there'd be a whole bunch of fishing vessels out there with nets trying to reel this stuff in.
Pirates are gonna start raiding the PSA boats next.
Yeah, somehow I don't think that's happening. Anyway, so yes, consigner hit or miss, raw cards as far as whether or not there's good grading possibilities. There could be because we definitely have bought stuff from consigners that has gemmed, but more often than not, what we found is a lot of times there's some sort of defect that you couldn't see in the picture. So if you're, as Bunk said, buying it for PC, no problem. But if you're buying it for grading, definitely do the best you can to really zoom in and try to take extra precaution by looking at it. Look at gem rates as well, and try to find out whether or not get as many things odds wise in your favor as you can.
Yeah, and let me reiterate, it's not like we're getting these cards in, and I'm like, oh man, this is the PSA 7. They're nines, they're just not 10s. We're looking for 10, so that's why we're calling them reject. I mean, the cards are fine
Yeah,
for every other purpose except if you're trying to gem a card.
yeah. Unfortunately, the PSA 9 and raw market right now is so tightly tied together that unless it tends, you're going to lose money between the grading and reselling on eBay.
Ooh, I'll have to save it for next week, but I saw a nice little trend. Well, I don't know if it's a trend, and I don't, I'll pick your brain to what it means. But I was seeing I was looking at Prospect First Bowman's, their regular chrome and their refractor PSA 10s, and I was noticing that the base chrome was very close in pop to the refractor, like barely above it, which surprised me. And the price on the base chrome was creeping up and actually getting way closer to the refractor than it should. So I don't know if that's a prediction of the refractor's about to explode, but it was interesting. You don't see it that often. What I noticed. I'm gonna see if I can find a few other examples, and if I can, we'll talk about it next week.
That would be what's known as a tease in the podcast game. So yeah, we'll do a little research on that and see what we can come up with and try to put some examples together for you. Anything else on consignment or other things?
No.
All
No, I'm
right.
good. I mean, the only real no, I got nothing.
All right. And due to the busy schedule of my co-host, we'll have no baseball this week. So we're going to focus on basketball. We've done a lot of football and a lot of baseball recently. So we're going to try to change gears here and get into some basketball. It is February already. We have basketball playoffs starting in 2.5 months. So definitely start a good time to start potentially looking at some options, guys that are going to be in the playoffs, young guys that could explode and get really boom in value. So I have a couple of examples to look at. Things that I feel are on a bit of a bottom that could jump up, and then also some things to worry about. Not worry about, but things to keep an eye on in regards to guys who have been surging and could back off a little bit just based on value. So first and foremost, Chris Paul. The next two guys actually we've mentioned on this podcast before. We're going to bring him back up again. Chris Paul and Jamal Murray. Chris Paul for the reason of he is a future Hall of Famer. He's playing on the Suns. The Suns are 41-9, best team in basketball right now. He's leading the league in assists, playing really well with that team. They're easily going to the playoffs. His 2005 Topps Chrome PSA 9 is going for $145. The pop on this is less than 300, and it's definitely, if he can finally get himself a ring, you obviously should see some movement on that. And as playoffs get closer, we did see a really nice bump in the market for football playoffs. So hopefully basketball will follow suit. So definitely somebody to keep on your radar. Jamal Murray, another one. He's been out with injury. He went out last season. He's supposed to be back this year. He's potentially supposed to be coming back along with Michael Porter Jr., which would make the Nuggets whole, which they haven't been for a while. So that is definitely a possibility of an option. We did see a nice bounce with Clay when he came back from being out with injury. Not to say that Murray is of the same level as Clay, but Nuggets, if they have Jamal back at full strength and Michael Porter Jr., they obviously also still have Jokic. They become a really tough team to beat in the West. I mean, the West is going to be absolutely ridiculous with the Suns, the Nuggets, the Warriors. It's going to be an absolute brawl out West. Even the Mavericks are, in contention, middle of the pack for playoff appearance. Any drop-ins you want to add in here for basketball, sir? So I'm not talking for 30 minutes
I was
straight.
just thinking, because wasn't it delayed last year? Like the NBA Finals weren't until like the end of July last year, right? So you just coming at me with 2.5 months till the playoffs start. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
I mean,
April.
obviously the hardcore basketball dudes are all over that, but if you're a amateur basketball buyer like myself, I thought I had another 4 or 5 months before the playoffs. But
Yeah, everything's back on regular schedule.
Yeah.
So playoffs will be April, end of April, May, and June, and then basketball's over, and then it's all baseball for 30 days,
No
and then
baseball yet, guy.
yeah, Well, yeah, we got to get a collective bargaining agreement. Yeah, let's Let's put that on our agenda. Let's tease that out there as well at some point to talk about CBA and what's going on with baseball and how that could affect the market. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Wanda rookie cards. Let's go.
a couple more things for basketball. The Luka market, even though the Mavs are winning games, he's scoring points. And they're middle of the pack for playoffs. The Luka market still is just it's soft, and that may be a byproduct of pop. Like his cards are all high pops as far as their PSA 9s and PSA 10s, and that could definitely factor in here. But I haven't seen any like really big Luka sales lately, or anything that's really like lighting up the headlines. Even though his on court performance is good. So his PSA 9 silver sold for 750 at the last sale. I mean, 750.
Like 750.
Yeah, like $750. So there is a pretty strong support level for this card at the like 5 to 550 range. So this thing continues to dip a little bit. I would definitely, if you could get it anywhere close to that. I mean, if this thing falls another couple $100, there is a really strong area of support from previous closings a couple of years ago where it really bunched up in that area, and I don't think it'd go. I don't know if it's going to go much lower than it is now, but if it does continue to fall, I definitely would be a buyer at the like 550 level.
And you don't have any concerns even with the pop at the 9 at that price?
No, just because I mean it's Luca. Hopefully he'll get a title. I would think at some point. At some point, Cuban will continue to build around him. He's still super young, and the dude's just he's putting on a show night after night when he's healthy. He missed a couple weeks with an ankle injury, but got to figure he's going to win some titles at some point, and the owners, quote unquote, voted him the top player to build your franchise around. So there'll be value there, and the pop on his 9 is 2,000, so it's up there, but it's not like astronomical.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
So two more things real quick. The thing to keep an eye on is John Morant. Morant making highlight reels every night. His stuff has definitely surged over the last couple of months, and his card chart, it's approaching some previous highs, and in certain cases that's touched some of those previous highs from a few months ago when it surged before and then pulled back. So just be careful as far as you may touch some of those previous highs and then pull back a little bit before playoffs. So I as much as I want to be on the Ja train, because as I said, he's playing real well. Grizzlies are in third place. Definitely going to make some noise in the playoffs. It's just from a purely technical analysis standpoint of his card charts, I'd just be real hesitant to buy it at the levels that they are now. I'd love to see this pull back for the next month, just because of where the prices are, and then try to get a better entry point.
What's stopping us from having the same conversation about Morant in 2 years that we're having about Luka right now?
Nothing. It just
other than maybe pops.
It just all depends on whether or not he can win. Whether or not the Grizzlies can do anything in the playoffs. I mean, obviously he took them deep into the playoffs before. So if he continues to get better, let's take a look at his stats. I know there is a certain basketball opinion that I have gone to on previous occasions who will remain nameless, who question Ja's shooting abilities, but I mean, 17 points a game in his rookie season, 19 last year. He's averaging 26 this year, so he just keeps getting better. His rebounding numbers have improved. His assist numbers have stayed consistent, so he's a better rebounder and a better scorer. I mean, I don't see any reason why his stuff can't keep going up, but I want to see it if possible, pull back a little bit, because if it does continue to surge, I think it has less room to grow than some of the others, just based on some of the growth that it's already seen over the last like 3 or 4 months. Um, None of the new rookie product that's any good anyway has come out yet. It's all been like, hoops and some like patches and plates and some other like inferior products, I guess you could say.
And if
Um,
flawless came out now.
was it college flawless or was it NBA flawless?
Judging by the buying going on amongst the people I know that like basketball, I'm going to go with it was regular flawless. But
Well, that's definitely a possibility, but I'm gonna throw out a name that's potentially a bit of a flyer. Not necessarily a flyer. He was the sixth pick in the draft, and definitely playing really, really well. Unfortunately, plays on a really, really bad team, and that's Josh Giddey. Um, he's a 6'8" Australian fella. Playing a lot better than people expected, and definitely. It's a stretch, but drawing some correlations to Luca a little bit, just as far as his all around statistics. His scoring isn't as high, but he's dropping 15 a game with like 7 or 8 rebounds and 7 or 8 assists. So he's doing that kind of stuff, and he has a nation behind him, so to speak. Definitely, one of the more prominent, if not most prominent, Australian in the league. So it could definitely get some local buying support and could help pump some prices once some of those products come out. And we will talk more rookies at some point when your more mainstream optic, Donruss, Prism, products are out. But for now,
are we
there's
getting close to that?
no, I don't think so. I,
Ugh.
I mean, we still haven't gotten all the big 2021 products out yet, I don't think. So, all right. Now that I'm done talking, we have one more thing to talk about, and our peanut gallery question of the week. With the Winter Olympics starting, is there any impact on the hobby from the Winter Olympics?
Uh, yeah, I think so. I mean, I remember a bunch of years ago. I remember when Michael Phelps was going bonkers. He has some autographs, I believe, in Allen and Ginger. So the products like that where you have celebrities and athletes from across all sports. What's it? Godwin champions. That those kind of products where you just have athletes from all different sports, including Olympic athletes. You tend to see some premium on their cards because they're on the news. They're winning gold medals, and people are flocking and seeing what's out there, and people pay whatever to get them. So impact on the hobby in terms of their own stuff, yeah. In terms of regular hobby, it's business as usual for all the other sports. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know how much
there's
the Olympics detracts from anything. The hockey people are mad because now there's a 2 week break from the NHL.
yeah,
Nobody
there's
watched the
no
Olympic hockey.
there's no yeah, and no NHL guys, as far as I know, at least the US guys. It's all college guys for the US team, so you're not going to see any US NHL guys. I don't think any of the other guys from other nations or from the NHL are playing. So you don't have any of that impact there. So once again, you're going to have to dig, as far as if there's a figure skater or a curler or a bobsledder that has a card in one of these, wacky sets, you may see some pump on that, but the markets are a lot smaller. And
Yeah, and you're not buying them now. It's too late for
yeah,
that. You're going through a box and saying, "Oh, hey, look, I got this.
yeah, it,
let me get rid of it now."
yeah. And I'm not even 100% sure where those products are, but I'm sure you can Google it either Google it or look it up on eBay and potentially find some cards, but it's going to be minimal.
Yeah, and it's your top of the line, like flaunted type of people. I mean, it was literally Michael Phelps, Simone Biles. It was that kind of
Yeah,
it was that kind of
I
individual.
couldn't name you one U.S. Winter Olympic athlete right now.
I haven't even it snuck up on me to be honest. I haven't even really got.
I don't think opening ceremonies are till tomorrow, and I think there's just some like preliminary events and stuff that are going on, but I don't think the actual opening ceremonies are till tomorrow.
Correct. Yeah, there's curling going on right now. Women's hockey's going on right now. But yeah, like I quickly put in, Goodwin champion USA. I don't know what else to put as far as there's 500 hit results right now on eBay. So I don't know if that's more or less because the Olympics are on. And certainly half the names there are former Olympic athletes, but you might even get a little premium on former athletes because people are just searching for Olympic type stuff. And if
Yeah.
you put that in your title, it might pop up. I think the last couple things I saw was Peggy Fleming and Christy Yamaguchi
Oh,
and stuff like that.
I know
So
her.
yeah, blast from the past, but they might get a little hype with the any Olympics going on.
Can we get me a Tanya Harding or Nancy Kerrigan auto?
Game used bat.
I think it was more of a club than a bat, but
Oh.
I don't think did Tanya actually
spend good money on that.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody has it somewhere. Alrighty, on that incredibly wacky note, you got anything else you'd like to talk to the people about this week?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. Well, on that note, episode 45 in the books. Once again, if you have any questions you want us to talk about on the podcast, send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. Follow us on social media, SportsCardADVTG, Instagram and Twitter. Love to have you guys follow and shoot the shit on social or email. And then also, as we said at the top, we got some tools that we're playing around with for the new website that's going to drop in the next couple of weeks. So if you want to test some of those out and give us some feedback, send us also an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. And on that note, we're done. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.